Right, the second part of my little talk on the Olympus OM-D5 is I never really said the reasons why I selected this camera years ago, because it was quite a pricey camera at the time, retailing for about £900. And what had been happening to me before is I'd been taking quite a lot of pictures of children and animals and so on for some of the local paper competitions, and I found that repeatedly the other cameras that I was using would focus not on the face or the eyes of the subject, but usually on, if a hand was say in front of the subject, it would focus on the hand or the shoes or clothing. And even though I thought I'd got the focus point set up so that it was in the facial region, that wasn't happening. And with the cameras being DSLRs, in other words with a mirror, I wasn't getting, on the previews, a really good impression of where I was focused. So I'd find after a long session, I'd maybe got like 10 or more pictures out of focus, and by chance they would always be the sort of special shots. Reading the DP review of this camera, with its image stabilization and the facial recognition, I downloaded some images from DP review just to check on the quality, and I was very satisfied with what I'd downloaded, the full-size images. So I flogged off all my Canon gear and various lenses, went for this camera with 2 bodies, and I did really well with it. I'm not one of these people that's obsessed with a brand. I'm quite happy to use other brands. I've got Fuji, Panasonic cameras. I suffer from a little bit of gear acquisition syndrome or gas, and have too much stuff that's losing money faster than you can blink. But anyway, I thought I'd mention about the Olympus because they're saying what an excellent buy it is. And it's the image stabilization that moves the sensor in this plane, that plane, back and forth. That's a godsend. So if you're somebody like me that's always got like a natural tremor in your hands, this means that you get so many far sharper images. You don't have to rely on picking the highest shutter speed to get the image that you want. I'll show you a little bit about mirrored cameras or SLRs. So I've got here an old Minolta camera. Now in there is a flappy mirror. So when you press the shutter, it just whizzes up, exposes what was the film area, so you get the picture. So your light is reflected from the mirror round a glass prism, and then you check on the focusing. Now this system relies so much upon really brilliant engineering to get the thing to be absolutely precise. What the digital age started to show us is, although this mirror is supposed to be exactly at 45 degrees, sometimes it wasn't quite right in relation to the lens. So even though it appeared focused, or the auto focusing mechanism said it was in focus, what was actually recorded on the sensor at the back here was slightly off. That's why companies like Canon started to do, deep in their menu on some of the cameras, you could alter the focus plane either in front or behind of where it's supposed to be focused. When the little Olympus came out, and 1 or 2 of the other Micro Four Thirds and mirrorless cameras, there were so many of these various YouTubers and camera journalists was going on decrying them as rubbish. They'll never be used by professionals, they're too small to be taken seriously. Well, You're professional by your attitude, not so much by the expense of the gear that you use, and professional by results. Because I can just move this out of the way and show you what I mean. This print here was one I printed myself on a professional Canon printer. Now this is using about 50% of the image area on the Olympus, and it's still absolutely excellent. I'll show you a close-up of the eye area. You can still see the individual hairs around the eyebrow and eyelashes even in the print. So no parent or relative is going to want more than that. In fact, it wouldn't make any difference if this was printed out with a 60 megapixel camera. It wouldn't look any better than it does from that Olympus. One of the things that you keep getting hearing, I'm sick to death of hearing, is there's people ranting on full frame, as if this is the absolute yardstick of professional use. Back in the film day, 35mm was mainly used by press photographers, amateur users, and sporting journalists. Most people taking commercial work, fashion work, was using this size negative, 2¼ and above, to simply get the quality. There's always been this sort of format war, because you can still get 10x8 or bigger film cameras. 10x8 by bigger is about that size, which people can use for industrial jobs and landscape job. Absolutely enormous. I mean, the strange thing about the journalists wanting to test out camera equipment is they'll get a camera like this that's on the whole being used because it's small and compact and lightweight, and then for some extraordinary reason they'll test it on like a ice hockey event, you know, as if that's the sort of industrial standard for checking out camera gear. The equipment is tested against the ice hockey stadium, and some gnarly old photographer with his favourite Nikon gear will show that he's got like 20 more sharper pictures and it's misfocus. I think, well, fine. If you want to take pictures on ice hockey events, use the gear, but don't say that equipment like this, which has made me a reasonable amount of money when I was doing the job, certainly enough to pay out for professional printing equipment. Such a lovely item, so well made, and the image stabilizer just takes it one stage up from, say, something like a Fuji X-T1, which you can also get very, very reasonably priced at the moment. That's a wonderful camera, by the way, but at the time I purchased this, when the X-T1 was also coming out, Fuji had a very poor range of lenses and they were all surprisingly expensive. So I hope that enlightens you slightly more. Thanks for watching.